fear, I think, sometimes takes over in business and in life, and it's like, what are you really afraid of? Me, it's like when I started with nothing. So if you start with nothing, you have nothing to lose.
All right, listeners, today we have on the podcast Kevin Markarian. Kevin is the owner of a California-based boutique brokerage, Marker Real Estate. Kevin entered the competitive real estate industry at the young age of 22. Within his first 3 years of business, he became the #1 agent in the country for a major home builder. Soon after Kevin began weathering the storm of the Great Recession, the foundation he had built and local economy collapsed. With the mindset of go big or go home, Kevin moved to San Francisco and quickly built a name for himself as one of the top agents in the city. Fast forward to now, Marker Real Estate has been thriving for 5 years in both Northern and Southern California and has been ranked 310 of 5,000 as one of America's fastest growing companies. We could go on for quite a while about Kevin's resume, but we are super excited to have him on the show today to talk about innovative ideas he has had throughout his career and where he believes we're at in the real estate market amidst the recent events of COVID-19. All right, Kevin, how are you, man? Thanks for coming on.
I'm glad to be here. It's a big honor. Thanks, guys.
Of course. How has everything been going with, this kind of whole lockdown and everything with your family?
Oh, it's been interesting. It's an incredible time.
Yeah.
Just gives me a chance to spend time on my business, spending time with family. I think we have so much access to things that when something changes like this and we don't, we can't order toilet paper,
Yeah.
for example, it kind of freaks you out, but there's a vast number of people around the world that are used to this kind of thing.
Right.
It just gives us, I think, a taste of what most of our fellow human beings are dealing with on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it, you look at things and you really start to think about what you're grateful for and how we live in such an amazing place that up until now, I mean, if there was anything that I wanted to order online, I mean, if I wanted to go to the store, if I want, I can do whatever I want. I can get whatever I want. It's just a reminder of how great of a place we live in. And I wouldn't want to be any other place than here, especially right now. So it's just, it's an interesting time. I think we're going to get through it. I think for whatever people's opinions are on the government running the country right now, I'm just following what they're putting out, and I feel good that things are like in 2008. Things that happened in 2008, I have a feeling aren't going to happen this time around. I mean, there's a comparison always when you have some sort of uncertainty like this, where you start looking at, okay, well, what's happened in the past? What can we expect? And I saw this morning that the federal government put a cease on all foreclosures and evictions, which I think is amazing.
Yeah.
And being in the real estate business and an entrepreneur, like any sort of help right now and like positive ideas, and knowing that we have people that are leading the country that want to protect businesses, I think is really important. And we've made a lot of adjustments, as you know, Roland, like within our own company, and just being smart with our spending, and it's given us an opportunity to really look at things in the business and realize, like, look, when things are good, you loosen up, and sometimes, like, this has allowed us to really look at our business and see, okay, well, you probably didn't need this tool or that tool that you hardly use anyway, right? And you just sort of tighten things up. And regardless of what happens, whether good or bad, I probably didn't need those things in the first place anyway. So it's just giving me a chance to really look at things. And I think we're going to come back even stronger. I think there's within business and supply and demand and consumer action. I think with this, in most industries, we would normally have been entering into the busy time of year, especially with real estate. And this has obviously created a slowdown. However, people still need to buy cars. People still need to buy houses. People still need to move. People still need to do things. And that doesn't change because those are necessities that you need. You need transportation. You need shelter. You need housing. You need things, right? So although we can't really do a lot right now, there's going to be a significant amount of pent-up demand, and we've talked about this, that coming out of this. I think if those of us that are still working, putting in effort, are going to do really well, and I think the economy is going to do well, and this is like it's like a black swan event, right? If you've seen that book or read the book or seen the movie,
I've seen the movie.
Black swans are very rare in nature. You may see one in your lifetime. You may see one in an exhibit somewhere because it's on an exhibit because they're so rare. And however, they do exist. So it's similar to a pandemic. Pandemics are a part of nature. They exist. They've happened before. Right. So this is like a part of nature.
Yeah.
And, it's almost kind of like a refreshing thing for nature in a way, right? We were reading these things about like the Venice, Italy.
Yeah, the dolphins in the canals and the
canals in Venice are like clear. You see the ground now, right? And so emissions around the world have been reduced. At least some of the reports that I've been seeing. So like it could be like Earth pressing the reset button real quick and saying, "Hey, humans, like calm down for a little bit," Yeah. So, and I think it's bringing humanity out of people. I think you start to see people come together and start to realize, look, I mean, everyone's got a lot of the same interests around the world. We all want the best for our kids. We all want good things in our lives. We want access to stuff. We want like peace. We want safety, security. We want to live, right? It's all about life. We want to live, human beings. And I even saw a thing, we've talked about this again, Roland, like you and I have been talking a lot, but I saw a report, as dark as this might sound, and actually I think it's quite fascinating just with thinking about human nature, is like I saw a report that Al-Qaeda put something out to their terrorist group, telling them not to go to Israel to bomb people because they might get the coronavirus. So, I mean, that just... like the most evil people in the world, right, are even becoming human. Yeah. And you start to see like around the world, it doesn't matter where you are, we all kind of are going through the same things. And so that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And it's an historic time too, right? We're gonna look. I know. Back.
I've been telling that to a lot of people. It's kind of a trippy time to be in this life and going through this, you know what I mean? Stuff you see on movies and all of that. So, I mean, now that you touched on it, what are some of the similarities, if you do see some similarities now between now and 2008? What are some that you are seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I went through 2008. I was a real estate agent selling houses, and 2008, it was just scary because banks stopped lending.
Yeah.
Like I worked in a new home development. I was like a salesperson at a new home place, right? I was the person you walk in. I'm like, I'm the dude that walks up, like, hey, how's it going? You want to look at the houses? Like,
right.
It was a brochure.
You were one of those.
I was one of those guys. Yeah, and and then I remember 2007, August 2007. We had some buyers and clients that wanted to buy property, and then they couldn't because there was no bank that was giving out loans at the time. Like they just stopped. It's like, wow. And I was younger, and I didn't really have a lot of overhead, and I didn't have a big business like now. I mean, I have a business and I have lots of different responsibilities, family and everything. And it's a different situation now, but similarity wise, just the uncertainty, a lot of fear with people. I personally at the time wasn't really afraid just because I didn't really have anything to be afraid of. I didn't really care. I didn't have a lot of overhead, like I said.
Yeah.
And people were very afraid, just like they are now. There was a lot of uncertainty. And then it was like people were losing their houses. And but this time, I think we've learned a lot from the last one.
Absolutely.
I think we're not going to see those things again. Like they put a cease on foreclosures.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And now that you mentioned that too, actually, I have my sub service for my loan for my mortgage is My Loan Care, and they are deferring payments up to 6 months for people, who want to do that or need it. So I'm sure a lot of other companies will do that too. And that's, even like that right there is something that's huge that I'm sure in 2008 they weren't prepared for to do that at all.
It wasn't available. It was almost like a cutthroat sort of animalistic survival approach. Like, hey, you don't have the money. All right, foreclose on your house. Then we're not going to forgive it, right?
Yeah.
So and what was interesting too was like, and they're not allowing it this time, but buybacks, like stock buybacks, like companies would get bailed out. So check this out, how crazy this is. Companies get bailed out by the government. Let's say $100 million or something, right? Okay, their stock drops because the economy is devastated. So let's say 2008, all the stocks have dropped, values have gone down. I'm Walmart, for example. I don't think they got bailed out. I don't know, but let's just say example Walmart. Let's say the Walmart stock dropped to like $10.
Yeah.
It used to be 100 and it dropped by down to $10. They get $100 million bailout, for example. In addition to like putting that money into whatever resources to keep them afloat, they got that money from the government, taxpayer dollars. Okay, take that 100 million. Their stock's at $10. What do? They go and buy their stock. And what does that do? They get their stock at a discount, but as people start buying the stock, it starts to go up because people are buying.
That's insane.
And the stock goes up because of the money that they're injecting into their own stock.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. So now the bailouts, if there are going to be any, like if government steps in and helps some of the companies, which I think they're going to do, they're not allowing that kind of thing to happen. So I think there's going to be less like fraud and stuff like that.
Shystiness and
at least not what happened last time. There's always shystiness. There's always going to be some shady people out there, but it'd be a different type of shady this time that we're not familiar with,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I'm optimistic. I think it's going to be okay, and I just feel for the people that are getting laid off and stuff like that. But
totally. So hey, why don't we start off, just by you telling us a little bit about your upbringing, how you got your start in real estate, which you kind of touched on already, and where that's transitioned to Marker and where it's at now.
Hey man, so I was born in Hollywood. My family came from the Middle East, Iraq. I'm Armenian. I'm half Armenian, half Assyrian. Okay. Armenians are both are super ancient, like cultures, and I don't know how far back you want me to go, but I'll just
do your thing.
Okay, so they ended up migrating from Armenia. My father's family and parents, they left because of the Armenian genocide that took place. They ended up migrating to Iraq. The countries that accepted them were Middle Eastern Arab countries, which is interesting because Armenians are Christian and Arabs, for the most part, are Muslim. But the Muslim Arab countries were the ones that accepted the Christians that were actually being slaughtered by Muslims, by the way. Wow. That were in by Ottomans. So again, it's like the human thing outside of religions and stuff like that. But it was I think it's really a story that hasn't really been told. But so Armenians end up going to Iraq. My mom is Assyrian. Assyrians are like the first civilization, like Sumerians, like the first. Our thing is like we're the first inventors of the sailboat, first inventors of the wheel, mathematics, the first library ever, first civilization ever. And that was in the Middle East in Iraq. And so like my ancestors are those people like from back then. So that's like our thing. We don't really have a country.
Yeah.
Assyrians are the indigenous people of Iraq. Mm-hmm. And so so they lived in Iraq, and it's not like it wasn't like the greatest place to be, especially being a Christian person. Like there, it was hard, and it was just not a great. I mean, it was a good country, but they wanted to come to America, and America was like the land of gold,
Yeah.
opportunity and all that. So my dad was big into movies and Hollywood, and there's a big Armenian community in Hollywood. There's actually a little Armenia in Hollywood, and LA has a massive. There's a town in LA, Glendale.
Mm-hmm.
It's the second largest Armenian community in the world. Okay, second largest Armenian community population in the world. The first biggest is Yerevan, which is the capital of Armenia. So the second biggest. Anyway, so they moved to the States. I was born in Hollywood, Lexington and Western, like not the greatest area. And then we were like 6, 7 years old. We moved to small town Modesto. My mom wanted us to have like a better upbringing in the suburbs. Like we lived in LA. LA was really rough. One of my younger brothers, Peter, almost got kidnapped one day, and she was like,
wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy story. So I ended up moving to Modesto. I grew up in Modesto. It was a small like agricultural town. There's not a whole lot to do there. A lot of my friends like were getting into trouble and making bad decisions, and as like a teenager, and just was exposed to really crazy things that most teenagers, probably never been exposed to, and most adults. So didn't really know what I was doing, and just kind of was going. I don't know. I was really going towards like a very good path. And my dad had a friend who was a broker, and at that time, I didn't know what it meant to be a real estate agent. I thought it was like I always looked at it as like a cool profession, like really interesting, and like it's like a high level professional industry.
It's funny you say that, because I feel like you got into real estate when you were 22, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's funny because like most 22-year-olds don't think real estate or real estate sales.
Yeah, no, I didn't really think of it either. I mean, I was going to nowhere. Like if you go back and ask a lot of the friends that I have growing up, like a lot of them are like shocked to see what has happened like with my life. I mean, it's crazy. Like, it's like from the movies, man. A lot of people that I knew are like not in good situations right now,
Yeah.
So, so my dad's like, hey, do you want to get a real estate license? I'm like, all right. So I did. Oh no, you want to get a job with this broker? You want to meet this broker? He's got a brokerage, and he'll hire you. He's a friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I walk in. I didn't know what it's like with recruiting and all that. I looked at it like, okay, I'm gonna get a job, and like I walk in. He's like, all right, you're hired. So he's like, you just have to get your real estate license, and I was like, okay. So I went and I studied really, really hard, and I took it very seriously because I looked at it as like a way out to get away from where I was at the time. And it wasn't very good surroundings. I was in very, like we didn't have money. Like it was very like tough, like my two brothers, we lived in a 2-bedroom place. Me and my two like grown brothers were like in our late teens, 19 to 22 years old. We shared one bedroom, like 3 grown men, shared one bedroom in there, and we had all our friends. We'd like be playing video games.
Yeah.
Like we'd have the crew at our house, like every day. Like our house was the place to come. There's always that one house that everyone goes to and has fun, hangs out. Ours was that house in our area. And so I looked at real estate. I took it very seriously because I viewed it as a way out, to get away. It was the only chance that I had to like really get away from all this stuff, because I've seen people go into like bad situations, and like literally like going to jail and stuff like that. It was like crazy.
So was that just you? Was that just your, your own drive? Or did your mom and dad, did you have any influences other than that broker that was like kind of instilled that into you?
Really interesting question. My mom had always put like drive in us when we were kids. Like she always like didn't take any crap. Like if you don't, you get up, you're going to go. Like you're going to school, you're doing this. My dad was funny because like usually the other way around.
Yeah.
Dad was more like the nurturer, like the loving one. And my mom was more the tough, hard nose, like get up, go. Like you're not, when we didn't go to, like we not want to get up to go to school, my mom would get water, cold water, and she'd pour it on our heads. Like we did like school, Iraq stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
She'd open up the windows at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and Modesto would be like freezing.
Right.
We lived in the valley, and it was like cold, bone chilling. And she'd open up all the windows, and it's like dark, and we're getting up in the morning, when it's still dark outside and we want to get up, she's asking us to get up and we're not doing it. She'd like
Mm-hmm.
open up all the windows, open them wide open. It's freezing. Pull the blankets off, and we're still not getting up, like pouring water on our head. Like, literally. And so I didn't like. So those are just things that I think were just embedded in me, like growing up and just having that like toughness. And I grew up in a tough area. The kids didn't have great upbringings. They had like toughness too. Like other kids would instill that toughness in me. I remember one time just going out to play. There was a kid, and I would still remember to this day. I didn't feel well, and I wanted to stay in. I wanted to stay in bed, and he basically was like, "No, let's go. Like, get up."
Yeah.
So those things like are still in me, and it gave me the grit that I have now. Like, so it just had that. But to answer your question, I didn't have it wasn't any drive at that time from my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like, pushed me to go get a real estate license. The broker didn't push me.
Yeah.
Nothing did outside of my environment. My environment was what was the biggest driving force that pushed me to do it, because I knew I wasn't going to survive and last, because I seen what was going on, and I seen where people were headed, and I seen what people were doing at that time. Like in my area, in my neighborhood, it was like people were doing like really bad stuff. So I just knew that's not, I didn't know the answer when I was in the midst of it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know I didn't know the answer. And then I found this as an escape route. And I looked at it as an escape route, and I just like I took it like so seriously. And I was literally I'd go to MJC. I went to Modesto Junior College.
Yeah.
MJC. And I didn't go to class, but I went to the library to study, to read the real estate books. And I'm like on the principles test now, I'll tell you, they're kind of a joke.
Yeah.
Like you could do it online,
right?
All that. But I had no idea. Nobody gave me any guidance on like what it takes to get a license. Like, they said, just get the books, study the books. You need to take the principles test. Then you're going to take the real estate test. So I didn't know it was like super easy. I mean, at that time, online wasn't available, but I like literally would study for hours in the library by myself. Yeah, nobody there. Like I drive there alone. I didn't go to class. And I just sit in the library for hours and just studying all of it. And I took it super seriously, man. And then when I got the chance to do the test, I like studied that super hard. And because I knew, again, like, I want to get away. This is my chance to get away. And real estate was like, I can't believe I just got hired to be a real estate agent.
Right.
Like, all I have to do is get licensed. You're going to give me a job. I'm going to make this. Like,
yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I took it very, very seriously, and then passed both to the real estate test and like first try. I nailed it, like crushed the test, and then I got my license, man, and then just next steps from there. Like I can tell you about what I started doing, and it was just all just there's a lot of soft people out there, man. People give up so easy.
Yeah.
Another thing that helped me a lot when I was growing up, I wrestled.
Yeah.
Wrestled in high school. So that was a lot of like toughness too, and mental.
I tell people that a lot. Mine was football. And I think like even when I'm doing anything, right? Like anything at all, whether it's, yard work or a workout or, even stuff on the computer, like I'm like always tell myself, I'm like, dude, I did that for years and there's nothing worse than that. You know what I mean? Like I can do anything that was way hard, that's been way harder. So I can definitely relate to that a lot.
Always. Yeah. And that was like just going out, like with the wrestling thing. I just would say, look, I like literally go half naked in front of a crowd of people, and like some other guys trying to humiliate me, like back, and so I can't move, like pin me. So like if I can do that, I can pick up this phone right now and make a phone call. Right? I always relate also to people that I heard about or knew that were like in situations that were dire, like seriously. Like I remember there was a person like just in a really bad situation where there was no way that there's no way out. And I'd always think back and compare my situation to this person, and this is cake when I think about like real estate and sales and all that. And so easy. Like it's not even work, in my opinion. Like real work is going in with a shovel and digging a ditch, you know, like hard work. Like this is cake. Just have to talk to people. So it was always just relating back to perspective and other people's positions and other people's situation, and just makes your life seem so much easier, which it is. Like even right now, we're sitting in our house. Like I'm healthy.
Yep.
I'm talking to you. I have food. I'm hanging with my family.
Yep.
There's nobody bombing. There's nobody like chasing me. It's like, that's how I always like relate to anxiety. It's like, okay, am I good right now? Like, is there something like after me? Like, am I right?
Yeah.
Fine. You know, it's okay. And even if like, you know, even if people that are in financial trouble, you're probably still going to be okay. You know, it just sucks to have to fall and like start over. You know, you work so hard. That's just something that sucks. But overall, it's all good. And that's also why I've been able to make like big moves and like big decisions with businesses and like, advertising, like more like at one time I was like the number one spender on one of the portals, on real estate portals, like spending more than anybody. And that might be stupid because there might be better ways I could have spent my money better. But the point is, I wasn't just the fear, I think sometimes takes over in business and in life. And sometimes it's like, what are you really afraid of?
Yeah.
For me, it's like when I started with nothing. So if you start with nothing, you have nothing to lose.
Exactly.
So that's just how I look at everything.
No, it's true. It's super true. I mean, because with my thing, and especially in real estate, you know, I got over the fear of phone calls really, really early, really fast, right? It was a super easy one. My thing that I always had fear of was video, which I was just like, dude, I always hated, you know, watching like the real estate dudes on video, and like, I always thought it was corny. And I was like, but you know, it's just inevitable that that's where everything is going, you know, video and social media in general. So I'm like, I refuse to get left in the dust and be regretting this, you know, 1, 2, 3 years from now. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to do what I have to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's just like, who cares?
Right. Yeah.
It's like we have this thing where people are going to judge us.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're afraid of. You're afraid of being judged, right?
Of course.
How can you look at you? And you might have like, and I'm curious to know, like, is it like, do you have like 1 or 2 people that you think about and what they might think of you?
Definitely. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And they really are like nothing. Like they mean nothing, right? It's funny. So funny. Yeah.
It's like, cause that's same for me. Like I have these like 2 or 3 like people that I'm like thinking, okay, what are they going to think?
Right.
But who cares? Cause I haven't even talked to them in like 5 years.
Exactly. So I want to fast forward a little bit, right? You had your first 3 years in real estate were super successful. And then you make the decision to pack up and go to San Francisco. So let's kind of touch on that, because I know in San Francisco you really started your online lead generation kind of thing, and that really took a big part of your career, right? So let's kind of touch on that and how that transition was.
Yeah, so I worked for a developer. So starting out, it wasn't as easy. It was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
But then after like a year, 6 months to a year, I got connected with this developer. And it was like a big time builder. They had like thousands and thousands of agents nationwide. I think they're like a top 10 builder in the country. Mm-hmm. And after a short period of time, I became the number 1 agent in the country for them. And it was awesome. Like I went from where I was to like now I'm going and training brand new people that they're hiring in Atlanta. Right. So then that was in the Central Valley, and then the market crashed. And that was like 2007, 2008. And I was just like, this sucks, you know? Like it was like the houses were stripped. We'd walk into a house, like everything was out of it. Like cabinets.
Yep.
Toilet was out. Sink. You know, like, and there were people that were maliciously damaging their properties because they were foreclosing on them. So there were people that would pour like cement in the sink.
Yep.
Do some crazy stuff, you know? Just out of like pure spite and hatred for the next person or like the bank or whatever. And I'd always been fascinated with San Francisco. It'd always been like a place that I loved. It was just like a cool place. Mm-hmm. San Francisco, the city, you know, the big city. And then, you know, I just didn't really feel that staying in the Central Valley, was just the epicenter of the foreclosure crisis, didn't seem like it was the right. The future wasn't bright.
Yeah.
Interesting, because that was how I looked at my life as a kid. When I was around all those people, I knew the future wasn't bright, and I just saw it like projected. And I was like, okay, I got this real estate thing. I'm gonna go full in on that. I've never really thought about it until just now.
Yeah.
Interesting. And then, so with real estate in Modesto and Central Valley, I was like, okay, this isn't going very well. San Francisco's cool. It's exciting. Like, wow, I get to, go to this big city and check it out. And then I just moved to the city. And I remember people in the Central Valley were telling me I'm crazy, I'm an idiot. Like, people are losing their homes right now. And people are like, this is like the worst time. You're gonna home price, like it's super expensive in San Francisco. You're insane. But I always and people at the time, and I don't know if this is still true. I think it is. San Francisco had the most agents per capita in any other city in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Most real estate agents. So the competition is going to be even greater.
Yep.
And I just kind of blocked a lot of that stuff out. And I just I remember, like I'm saying to people right now, just stay in the weeds. Right, just stay in.
Yeah, keep your head down and put your blinders on.
Yeah, like just go and just try to figure it out. And at the time, I had deals that were closing in the Central Valley. I had a cushion. I'm not gonna.
For sure, yeah, you had some reserves.
I had $30,000.
Yeah,
that's the money I had. Okay, and my rent in the city was $3,000.
Damn, even at that time.
Yeah,
you must have gotten a nice place.
Yeah, nice place. Nice place downtown, beautiful. So $3,000. So what I said to myself was probably, I don't want to be in the Central Valley. I'm going to move to Modesto. My rent's $3,000. I have a year to survive if I make zero money. So I have some time.
Mm-hmm.
And I believed in myself. I knew that I could, because I was already a successful agent, number one agent in the country. So why can't I be number one there?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. So I've always done things at a above average or better. So it's like always compare. Well, if I'm going to go and do something and I'm scared of it, how have I done historically? Show me how you do anything and I'll show you how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So anything that I've done for the most part has been at least average or better if I've tried.
Yeah.
In school, I didn't try. I was horrible, but I didn't try. But I was like very socially like advanced.
Yeah.
Although I didn't like show up to class, I think I was named most best all around kid in like this yearbook or something. You know? Just really, really good socially and stuff. So like
high, what they call that, high EQ, right?
High EQ.
Yeah.
I think that's more important.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
As an entrepreneur, especially. Yeah. It's all about communicating and building relationships and being cool with people. And so yeah, I mean, just had so my thought was, if I'm at least average or better in everything I've done that I've tried to do, although San Francisco's got the most agents per capita, who cares?
Yeah.
I'll do at least average or better. And if I don't, I'll just come back. What do I have to lose? I'll live back with my mom. So what? I was married at the time, but who cares?
Yeah.
Big deal. I come back and I just start all over again.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. So it's like you ever remember poker? Poker was popular.
Just poker on on
TV. Like it took off.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They started putting it on TV, and there was this guy who said, in order to win, you have to be willing to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have to be willing to lose if you want to win, because that means you have to put your cards out there. You have to play, put your money out. You want to win, you have to be willing to go all in. You want to win like if you're at the end, if you're going to win a tournament, you're going to go all in a number of different times in poker.
Yeah.
Right? So like all in means you're putting all your chips out there, putting everything in. And if you lose that hand, which is, of course, it's gambling, it's completely uncertain. There's a chance you could lose all your chips and you're out.
Yeah.
So, but in order to win, you have to be willing to go all in. You have to be willing to put your chips out there and be vulnerable and take a leap of faith. And that's what I did. I had a year and I said, let's go, let's give it a shot. And I knew that I could prospect. I knew that I was good at sales. I knew I was a good communicator. I knew I was I had the drive and the grit to pick up the phone and make phone calls, and that's all it takes. People are the same everywhere.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about, right? So if I can sell in the Central Valley, I can sell anywhere. I just have to be able to. It's the same like script, like just talking to people, same interests. So, and that's what I did. And I remember getting the place, and I would prospect for like 9 hours straight, nonstop, just keep calling. I didn't have a CRM. I had this note. I had a pad. I still have it, and I had all my notes. And I would just call people and say, hey, this is, I saw you had inquired about property recently. Just want to reach out and see if you're still in the market for a home. Like I came up with that on my own.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. Yes or no? No? Okay, no worries. And just thinking about maybe down the line, whatever, asking questions. And yes, perfect. And I knew I had a database, right? I knew out of that database, it's a guaranteed fact. Right now, like we have our follow-up boss thing in our business, our company, right? I guarantee you there's deals in there. Like 100%. I put everything on it. So like, people are gonna transact. That was my belief. So I just have to go find them. I just have to go through and find them. And so people quit so easy that they don't even give themselves a chance.
Mm-hmm.
There's this other quote that I heard from someone, and it goes, "Never underestimate the mediocrity of the opposition."
Yep.
Like think about that. Never underestimate the mediocrity of the opposition or the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Because people quit so fast.
Yeah.
They just have that. It's just mentally they're weak.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry. So
you went in with the perfect mindset.
It's all mindset. So it's just mindset is all it is. And then putting things in perspective. Like if I'm getting tired of calling or talking to people or doing sales or whatever, like, what do you mean tired? Like you're not running a marathon, you know?
Yeah.
Like, let's go. Come on.
Or you're not getting up at 5 a.m. to go do some physical labor job or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, even with that, there's always something like those guys. Okay, well, you could be in a prison camp in North Korea. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if you talk about those, it's always like mind tricks that you play with your own head to keep yourself going. And we have it very easy in where we live in our country and all that. And sense of entitlement, and that's what causes people to fail. Yeah. So just
So where did online lead generation come from in that? Was it like when you first moved there, you knew that online lead generation was becoming a thing, or what? How did you kind of get ahead of that curve? Because there was probably so many people that were like, "Oh, online leads, please." You know what I mean? It's all about referrals. All about this or that.
What's funny is that I was sold online leads. Like at first, originally, I didn't like predict anything. Okay, this is going to be, well, I'll start back because I started using leads in the Central Valley when I was still as an agent there. And I remember somebody called me on the phone and it was like a sales call. It was a good salesperson. They called me and said, hey, just try out this product. And I tried it and it was very inexpensive at the time. And I got a couple sales out of it. I'm like, okay, I can do this. This is easy. Like, they're calling, they're inquiring. It wasn't that difficult. Yeah. And then, so I knew that I had that access. And when I moved to San Francisco, I thought, okay, well, I don't know anyone here. Nobody knows me. How can I level the playing field? Nobody's doing internet. And at the time in San Francisco, most people were like a lot of people in SF are transient, meaning they come from other parts of the country and they move to San Francisco. So that was another benefit because there's not a lot of like long-term relationships. Yeah. Right. So they're not like necessarily going through referrals as much. They're like coming from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania or Virginia or some other place in the Midwest. And they're coming to San Francisco and they need an agent. Yeah. So they're going online to find an agent. And San Francisco is like much more tech savvy and they're cool with like using tech. And it's funny because there also seems to me like the community there is, although they're very skeptical of things, but they're also like, they trust credible sources. So whatever may be Zillow or, interesting culture, man. Yeah. City in San Francisco itself, people there seem to trust credible sources. So Zillow puts it out. There's agents out there, his face, whatever, must be trustworthy. So even though I'm just moved to the city,
Yeah.
they see me on there. So I was able to level the playing field with top agents in the whole city because I was more visible than they were digitally. Right.
Right.
I'm not going to beat them with signs in the ground because I don't
Yeah.
have the tools, but I can be more visible than them digitally. And that's what's now we've just been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
We could crush, like really, no ego here, but I could probably be willing to bet I'll be more visible than 90% of any agent in any market in America.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to do that digitally. I could be more visible, more accessible, more even credible potentially because my message can go out. And the thing is, Grant Cardone said, people give in to the person that they see the most.
Yep.
People give in to the person that they see the most. So whatever you're messaging, whatever it is, like
Yeah.
if you say it enough, people are going to give in to it. So so that was what I did. I mean, it was just a lot of digital advertising, lots of ads, lots of putting myself out there. And next thing I know, I'm selling properties and doing listings in San Francisco. I had no past experience whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just through digital advertising and online lead generation. And then I partnered. So I thought, okay, we got the lead stuff going. I'm doing the prospecting. So there's two different things. One is the leads.
Mm-hmm.
That's new inquiries coming in. Then we have my own individual prospecting. I'm making phone calls on my own. And if I'm not out there doing deals, this goes to any agent that's listening to this right now or any business owner listening to this right now. If you're not in the midst of doing a transaction, then you need to be in the midst of getting a transaction.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Because what else are you going to do?
Yeah.
So if you're not, so my thought was, you got the internet leads coming in, then I'm prospecting on my own, spending 8, 9, 10 hours until I end up getting an appointment. And then I can make an adjustment and go. And then third was, who else needs me right now? Who else needs an agent right now outside of consumers? Okay, so I thought, all right, I work with lots of buyers. I do a lot of prospecting. I'm creating opportunities. Who could benefit from this? First thing that came to mind was lender.
Mm-hmm.
Lender benefit, right? Yep. And then I had a relationship from a previous situation I had dealt with an attorney in San Francisco. And he and I became like really close and just talking often. And then I'm like, okay, well, I can send him opportunities. And he's already cool with me. He already likes me. I was super young and he was like super old. And so I started sending him opportunities. And I didn't really want anything in return for him particularly, because I just wanted to help him because he helped me so much. He helped me so much and did a lot of stuff for me for free that I just was like giving him every opportunity. And I remember I worked for an independent broker at the time in San Francisco who had this like intranet, like how we have with our Facebook page and everything. Anytime someone needed an attorney, I literally would like run and I'd go and introduce them to Henry Glasser, who's the attorney. Yeah. Every time. So it was just constant referrals I was sending over to this attorney and didn't ask for anything in exchange. Yeah. Just back to him. And then suddenly he'd reach out and say, hey, I've got this client. He was a probate and a trust attorney. He was like, this person's mother just passed away. They need an agent to sell their home. Are you interested? And I'm like, hell yeah. You know? So we started building that relationship and getting transactions and opportunities that way. And then I walked into a bank, Bank of America, and it was on Broderick and Fell, I think. Yeah, Broderick and Fell, right next to the Panhandle, at the beginning of the Panhandle in San Francisco. I walked into this Bank of America, and I was like, hey, I do work with lots of buyers. Yeah. I'd love to talk with the loan officer here to see if we can partner up. Okay, so that was it. We sat down. It's like, this is what I do. Would you be interested in maybe send you some leads and some opportunities, and then if you get anything, just send it my way. And I didn't even think anything of it at the time. Just like, okay, just whatever. Because a lot of people were asking who's a lender. I need a lender in San Francisco. So next day I get a buyer lead for $1.8 million from that lender. And that was amazing. So those are like the three things, paying and buying leads, prospecting on my own, and then building relationships with other service providers.
Yeah.
And that was it, man. And then I started maxing myself out, and then that was led to the next chapter.
Right. Yeah. So let's touch on that. Right. So you're selling like crazy, and then you're like, okay, I can only do this for so long, right? I don't, burn my wheels, right? What's the next step? And that's when I'm assuming Marker was born, correct?
Yeah. So I lived in the city, I had a pamphlet on my coffee table. It was like a Saturday morning, and I looked through a bunch of stuff on my coffee table. I pull up, it's a National Association of Realtors booklet.
Mm-hmm.
I started looking through, and I get to a page, and it's like the National Association of Realtors convention is in San Francisco. I'm like, okay, when is it? What's the date? I look, it's like today. Oh, wow. Okay. Where is it? Moscone Center, which is like 10 minutes away from me, like a 15-minute walk or something. I'm like, all right, this is kind of like weird, right? I'm like, I don't really go to conferences or events. Like at that point, I didn't believe in them. I thought they were just like BS and people pitching stupid stuff, and I didn't really care. Then I started, I'm like, all right, so it's like interesting. So I started scrolling through. Then there was a topic that was on a session related to if you have a lot of online leads, how do you manage them? Okay. Like, damn, like I need to know this. Like now I'm doing a lot of leads.
Yeah.
Interesting. It's like 10 minutes and the session starts like in an hour. So I literally walk to Moscone Center.
Yeah.
I buy a ticket. I go in, I go to the session, I sit down, and I'm watching these people on stage, and they're talking about exactly what I'm doing, except they're like on a 20 times 10x, 20x greater scale. I'm just taking so many notes. I couldn't believe that other people are doing it at this level. So at the time, Realtor.com would be calling me like nonstop, the vendor. And I remember in that session, I'm like, it was like a packed place. And I'm like, I'm freaking out because I was like, every person in here right now is going to go buy up all the leads at Realtor.com. So I left early and I called the rep and I bought the whole county, the San Francisco County.
Damn.
And then from that point, I went from doing like 10 to 15 leads a month to like 350 to 400 a month by myself. And I thought I could handle it. So I just got bombarded. I was doing so many deals. I was working from like 6 a.m. to like 10 o'clock at night, working face to face with clients, like hands on. And then after, I'd be putting in offers and doing listing appointments, presentations, setting stuff up. I'd be working like literally around the clock almost. There were days I didn't even, it was like I worked till like 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore on my own. I was missing out too many opportunities. I completely maxed myself out.
Yeah.
And I remember asking who is good with online, who knows online leads. And I got introduced to someone, start talking with them. And I was like saying, hey, would you be interested in working some of these leads? We could work out a deal. I can't do as much on my own. And that was it. And then started with one person, then led to another and another and another. Next thing I knew, I had like 15, 16 people that I was working with that wanted to take leads from me. So prior to moving to SF, I had a brokerage in Modesto, which was still going. And at that time, we were like doing flips in the Central Valley because there was a big foreclosure thing.
Yeah.
And we're running those flips through the brokerage, selling them. So I was like, okay, so and then back to SF, the brokerage model I felt was very broken because I was spending so much on my own.
Yeah.
Brokerage wasn't doing anything for me. Like I was literally just giving money away because I was putting in all the effort, the money, the time, the brain power, all that. And I was closing deals and just giving them money. Like, what are you guys doing for me? I don't even go to your meetings. Like, I get the value out of you guys. So I tried to work a deal with them. It didn't work out. It was like over a very small amount. Like they didn't want to give a little bit more. I probably still would have been with them today. Yeah. It didn't work out. So I ended up starting my own. And a lot of those agents ended up coming with me. And that was it. And that was the value proposition. It was like with Markers, it's like, what has my brokerage done for me lately? I mean, a lot of brokers, they just take, they don't give. Yeah. A lot of, so if I'm not going to sit here and say that, we're in it to make a profit, but we have, as a brokerage and a broker, we have to give back to agents.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's my value? Just like a client, what's your value to your client?
Right.
There's so much competition. Why should they work with you over somebody else? Well,
Yeah.
I know the answer for me. I know what our answer is. I know what our value proposition is. If it's valuable to an agent, they want leads, they want opportunities, they want appointments, they want access to clients that sell more houses, then we're the brokerage that you want to talk to.
Yeah.
Or someone like us. If you're not into that, then that's okay. But I know what our value proposition is. That's our niche. That's our thing, and we're masters at it. And like it's funny because with the COVID and all that, like companies that always kind of I don't want to use the word ridicule, but they would be like, well, you guys, if something's off, it's untraditional, it's weird, like, because we didn't have a bunch of overhead, a bunch of offices and stuff like that. We just like, we're very down to the efficient like purpose of our business, which is to buy and sell houses, help sell houses. So all these companies would look at us and be like, well, you're doing it weird or whatever. But now they're calling me and they're like, okay, what do we do? Because now everything's going towards digital. We don't know, and we have all this overhead and all that. So, it's kind of like, what is that? Like, there's a word for it. It's like a big justice or something, or poetic, poetic justice. You know?
Karma, I guess you could call it, right?
It's like just super ironic now, you know, that I've always said our company is ahead. We're leading the industry. We are the future. And again, I don't want to sound like egotistical or whatever, but like I didn't plan obviously for this to happen, but we're positioned well given the circumstances at Marker, because we're running our business this way. And I think the way that it will be run after we get out of this, when those changes take place, people are going to want to be more interacting digitally more. It's going to be more acceptable, that kind of thing. So we're very comfortable, and this is what we've been doing. And one other thing is, like, when I started Marker coming out of 2008, I remember the biggest fear people had was like overhead. Why they lost their stuff, because they had so much overhead. Yeah. So you ever seen the movie Heat?
Yes.
So the way I decided to the question or the statement that I lived off of for building the business when making big decisions is from a quote in the movie Heat, when Robert De Niro says, never attach yourself to something that you can't walk away from in 30 seconds flat when you feel the heat coming around the corner. Yeah. Right. So like when stuff gets crazy, you have to be able to move fast, make decisions, change things fast. Right. So your overhead isn't going to overwhelm you and you get stuck. Yeah. So we've always been very light and nimble and able to make quick decisions and changes quickly, so that we're not stuck in a position where we're over leveraged. We can't get out of it. Yeah. So this is like, this has been the model and the business model.
It's kind of crazy how that's all kind of come full circle, because it's almost in a sense you're recession proof, right? And there's all these people that, and I'm sure you've been talking to some of your buddies that have all these offices, and they're probably scrambling to figure out what to do with all their agents paying desk fees and whatever, the case is.
Yeah. I mean, there are quite a few people out there right now. Yeah. We're worried.
Yeah. So, hey, what do you think? I mean, we kind of touched on this already. What do you think has always been your main motivation for success? Whether it was your parents or just the, drive that was inside you. What do you, if you kind of dove deep, what do you think that is?
It's people always talk about running towards something. Goal, running towards a dream, or running towards this. For me, it's always been running away from something, running away from where we were. And I know, like, so only certain people can relate to that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only certain people can relate, because a lot of people, it's about like the vision and like this and that, and that's cool. But for me, it's also about the vision of what it was and what I don't want it to be. Yeah. Get away from. And people, I know there are people out there that relate to it, but you don't often see that stuff in books. When you go to the conferences, they don't really talk about that.
Exactly.
They don't talk about that. So and it's cool, because they haven't been through it. And I get it, good for them. But so was what it was for me. Up until recently now, it's like I want to give back to other people and help them, which is why we have like the Real Closers Facebook group and all that. Like, I want to give back and help and share and like help people and fight through any challenges and that kind of thing. And then like selfishly, also just for my kids, I want to help my kids. I don't want my kids to deal with the stuff that I dealt with growing up. Just wanted them to have access to things. And I mean, so it's like I think it's an evolving thing. I think your why and your drive can evolve.
Yeah.
And that's for me, because I never want to take things for granted, and I don't want to say that. I mean, that I can never go back to what it was.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to like jinx it,
Yeah.
But I think I'm in a pretty good spot right now where we're pretty good. I mean, there's a decent chance that won't happen, hopefully. So with that being said, it's shifted more towards like, how am I going to help set up my kids? And if something happen to me, are they going to be okay?
Yeah.
And then just helping other people, like agents that I work with and other colleagues in the industry and stuff like that is like my drive.
And it's funny you bring up your kids, because I've always thought about this, when that time comes for me is, you almost credit your success to your upbringing and having some of those struggles, right? Which I can heavily relate to. And that kind of puts you in the position of where you are now and that struggle. So I always kind of thought about that, where it's like, I want my kids to not have to go through that. And then at the same time, it's like, where is that fine line of like, where they get almost like too soft, or, does that make sense to you?
Well, I think there's 3 things with that. Number one, we have a responsibility as parents to make sure that our kids aren't entitled.
Yeah.
We have an advantage if you have been through it, that you know what it's like and you know what you expose them to.
Yeah.
So that they don't have that sense of entitlement, but it's a challenge.
For sure.
Because we want the best, and we're always like kind of probably leaning on being softer towards them and make sure that they don't they don't face the full brunt of the hit. You know? So it's that. And then I also think there are very successful people out in the world that didn't go through the bad stuff.
Exactly.
There's plenty of them.
Yeah.
Like, actually way more successful
for
people
sure
that didn't go through it than that did. Because they did go through the bad stuff, that was a low statistic. That was like a low chance of making it. They're the outliers, right?
Yep.
Where most people that are successful have had better like upbringing situation. They've been in good schools and been all that. So like I'm kind of positioning my kids to have this sense of entitlement, which is my responsibility, and then putting them in a position where they're in an environment where they don't need to be exposed to that stuff.
Yeah.
They're in a good environment. They're going to the best schools. Like they're going to being around the good kids. Like those things are very important as well. And a lot of successful people have had that sort of environment. And I think
I love that answer.
Yeah.
So it's been awesome having you on, man. We usually like to end the podcast here with asking you one last question. And that question is, if you could go back in time and tell young Kevin one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
Take more risk.
Yeah.
Even though I took a lot of risk.
Right. Take even more then.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to do things that you might be afraid of doing.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid of doing what you want to do. Yeah. Don't let anything hold you back. That's what I would say.
Love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again, man. We had a good long hour on here. So I want to really thank you for taking the time out, and I will see you a little bit later on for that happy hour, that virtual happy hour.
That's it.
All right.
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, man. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Shout out to Kevin again for telling us all about how he got started in the real estate game. It was super inspiring. If you ever want to keep up with us, head on over to Instagram at All Things Success Podcast. You can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts for all your listening needs. And remember that we're dropping new episodes every Sunday. Be on the lookout.